Okay, we'll call the Board of Adjustment to order. We'll have the call the roll. Will you please state your name, please? Go ahead, Jerry.
Gerald Porter,
Jill Noreen,
David Bartlett,
And Mark Deach. And we have a quorum present. The third thing on the agenda is inform the public in attendance of the role of the zoning board. The Zoning Board of Adjustment and Appeals functions like a court and must follow state laws and local zoning ordinances. The zoning board cannot change or ignore any part of the zoning ordinance or state laws, but must apply the laws as written. The zoning board may only grant a variance, special exception, or administrative appeal if the applicant provides evidence showing that they meet all of the legal standards for that decision. The legal standards the zoning board will use to decide on each application have been provided to the applicant and will be described at this meeting by the zoning board or staff. Each hearing will be opened by reading the application or appeal. The zoning department report will be read, including evidence from the on-site inspection. The applicant will be sworn in and then present the reasons and evidence to support why they think they meet the legal standards for a variance or special exception. The board may ask questions of the zoning staff and applicant. Witnesses will be sworn in and allowed to give testimony related to why the legal standards are or are not met. Once the board has all the necessary facts, the chair will close the hearing and the board will deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the legal standards. The board will then proceed to the next hearing. Written decisions based on the evidence at the hearing and whether the zoning board finds that the applicant has met all legal standards, the evidence and deliberation of the board will be filed in the zoning office and mailed to the parties involved as soon as possible. Minutes of the board meetings and decisions are available in the zoning office. A decision of the board may be appealed by commencing an action in the Dunn County Circuit Court within 30 days after the decision is filed in the zoning office. An applicant that starts construction before the 30-day appeal period assumes the risk of having the board's decision overturned. Okay. Let's see, we don't have minutes, I don't think, do we?
Yeah.
there was
Yes,
a
we do.
draft.
I don't, yeah,
Minutes from September 19th.
yep, we do. Okay, is everybody, have you had an opportunity to look at those minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the minutes from the, I don't see the date on that one.
September 19th.
September 19th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. The motion carries. Okay, then I'll ask Ann to read the public notice this is for the variance request. Is that, we'll do one at a time. Let's do the variance first and then we'll come back and do the other one.
The Dunn County Board of Adjustment has scheduled a public hearing for Monday, October 17th at 5:30 p.m. in room 54 at the Dunn County Community Services Building, 3001 US Highway 12 East in Menominee, Wisconsin. Applicant 1 is Marilyn Miller, N7583 500th Street, Menominee, Wisconsin. Location is Lot 2 of Certified Survey Map number 4733, recorded in volume 24, page 18, located in part of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter and in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, all in section 18, Township 28 North, Range 12 West, Town of Red Cedar, Dunn County, Wisconsin. Parcel identification number 1702-422-81-21-822-00032. The applicant is requesting a variance seeking relief to the required minimum lot width measured at the building setback line per section 13.2.2 sub H sub 2 from 85 feet to 82.35 feet.
Okay, we'll proceed then with the staff report. And at the conclusion of the staff report, if the applicant would like to speak, I'll swear you in and you can speak. Actually, maybe I should stop right there and read the public comments.
You'd like to?
I have two written public comment regarding this variance request. The first is from Jim Richards. States, as a resident of Red Cedar and a neighbor of applicant Marilyn Miller, I have no issues with her driveway request for a variance seeking relief to the required minimum lot width. As supervisor 2 of the Red Cedar Town Board, I feel 535th Street, the road she wants her driveway to come out on, is the best choice. The town does not maintain 500th Street or 535th Street. 500th Street is just a dirt trail with a large amount of potholes, while 535th Street has sufficient road base to cover the minimum amount of traffic on that road. At this point in time, the Red Cedar Town Board has no future plans to upgrade or maintain either road. Again, I am in favor of Marilyn Miller's request. Thank you. And signed by Jim Richards. The second one is from Mark and Madge Ellefson. We oppose granting driveway access to 535th Street for Lot 2 of the CFM number 4733, owned by Miller and Miller. We own Lot 1, bordering Lot 2, and are in the process of building a home. Our reasons is based on safety issues noted below. Number 1, there will be 3 driveways in close proximity with the requested driveway on Lot 2, abutting the driveway on N6420 535th Street, owned by Matt. I'll probably butcher these names. Marknick, and our proposed driveway on Lot 1, N6442 535th Street. Number 2, these driveways are on 535th Street. This street is a designated township road, but is not maintained by the town of Red Cedar. The street surface is a combination of gravel, dirt, and grass. Number 3, there are now 6 properties, not including Marilyn Miller, that have access use to 535th Street. N6420 and N6447 have existing houses. Our house, which is to be constructed this fall, will have access. 2 vacant lots owned by Jared and Jamie Saxton and Jerome and Barbara Johnson are on 535th Street and have their only access from 535th Street. Macnick owns a vacant lot adjoining his residence at N6420. Number 4, there is the potential of having heavy traffic on a street that does not have an all-weather surface. Other than residents, there would be visitors, deliveries, utility, maintenance, etc. Number 5, The street is not maintained by the township. During winter, a resident or neighbor plows a single strip on the street, thus providing limited access. This restricts access to emergency vehicles, which endangers the residents' safety and can limit a homeowner's ability to obtain insurance. Let's see, number 6, Marilyn Miller purchased lot 2 with its access publicly noted on the CSM as being only from the east border along a driveway and or proposed city street. Ms. Miller was provided with a copy of the CFM stating the access prior to purchasing the lot, with access prior to purchasing the lot. We purchased our lot 1 with the understanding that access to lot 2 was not from 535th Street. The real estate agent notified us that the access for lot 2 was from the east border driveway and or proposed city street. It is hard to believe that the real estate agent who notified us of lot 2 access did not notify Miss Miller. Marilyn Miller lacks the required area to have a driveway access from 535th Street. Miss Miller has requested to purchase additional land from us and Mr. Macknick. We have both declined to sell, which indicates our stance on granting this variance. Okay, those are the public comments that we have sent in. Is there any other public comments regarding this? I can't remember your first name, Mr. Cook, Bob, yeah. Public comment, come up to the podium, so we have it recorded. When you get up there, you'll need to state your name and address, and I will need to swear you in. I think you might need to push a button. I don't know if it's on or not. There you're on. I seen it light up.
Thank you. My name is Bob Cook. I'm the chairman of the town of Red Cedar.
And then I need to, state your name and address too.
I live at E6477 490th Avenue, Menominee.
And then I need to swear you in, Bob. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
Mr. Ellefson has brought up an issue that I'm concerned with also. He mentions access to that private road or town road, but limited access of Marilyn's driveway. She lacks, what is it, 4 feet? 2 feet. The town of Red Cedar believes that is by far the best route for her to access her property. And if Ellefsons are that opposed to the traffic on that road, and they're mentioning all kinds of traffic like guests and utility trucks and I suppose garbage trucks. If he's that concerned about perhaps not getting in and out of his property like he should and worried about getting insurance, why would he not have a driveway going out to the main blacktop road that the town maintains? I don't know how he got the driveway permit off that cul-de-sac. The town of Red Cedar has no paperwork showing that there was a driveway obtained from the town. And along with that, we collect a fee and we approve where the driveway would go. But if he's that concerned about it, and if it was me, I'd be pulling out onto that blacktop road. And right now he's relying on a neighbor or a friend to plow the driveway, to plow that road. Jim Richards' daughter lives on that road and Jim snow blows it. It seems to me that Mr. Ellefson should be a little bit more agreeable, because if he'd like to see that maintained by the Richards, I would be more agreeable if I was a neighbor living there. The town really agrees that that should be the location of the driveway. There are no plans to fix that other road, which used to go down to the Harvey Propst property. It's a dirt trail. It's narrow, it's got trees overhanging it, and there's large rocks that were placed out there for decoration. I don't see why the Board of Adjustment would not, or Board of Review, whatever this is, would not go along with the variance. I think it's in the best interest of everyone concerned. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Go ahead. Then please state your name and address. Okay,
Rich Ellefson, E 5180 650th Avenue, Menominee. I'm the brother of Mark Ellefson, and I had purchased the lot and just sold it or transferred to the Mark.
I need to swear you in.
Oh, okay,
You solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
Okay. The issue isn't with Mark and Marge, the variance. They don't have an issue with that. They have an issue with the road not being maintained by the township. As you read in that letter, there's parts of that road that are not an all-weather surface. And during the winter, Jim Richards does go down and plows part of it, but many times it's just a single lane. And when that's plowed, nobody knows for sure. So it's really not suitable for any kind of emergency vehicle. That street, 535th Street, was platted and finished, I would say the early 80s or late 1970s. It was approved by the county, it was approved by the township at that time. It is a legal street. And our research indicates that the township, the county is obligated to maintain that street. The request here is to be able to at least snow plow that street for emergency vehicles so they can get in. Otherwise, you have a street there, people are paying taxes for its maintenance, and nothing's being done with it. So the issue isn't necessarily the variance. It's a concern about the maintenance of that street. It's been sitting idle for a long, long time. Yeah. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment regarding this variance? This section of the hearing? Any other? No? Okay, now we'll proceed. Go forward with the staff report.
Just sharing my screen here, just one moment, please. I'm Ann Wodarczyk. I'm a planner / zoning administrator for Dunn County. And this is a summary staff report presentation for the variance request. The applicant, Marilyn Miller, is requesting a variance pursuant to 13.4.0.04 sub H of the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, seeking relief to section 13.2.2 sub H sub 2 to reduce the minimum lot width measured at the building setback line from 85 feet to 82.35 feet. Some background on the area. The applicant purchased the lot in 2022. The lot as it exists now was created as Lot 2 of CSM 4733 in June of 2021. During the certified survey map approval process, Staff noticed that lot 2 did not meet the required minimum lot width of 85 feet. And that'll be right here. Boy, I'm shaky, sorry. Right here. And I'll show you another slide that shows that a little bit better and shortly. So it didn't meet the 85 feet. So a note was placed on the CSM that stated access and addressing of lot 2 of this CSM shall be from the dedicated right-of-way as shown on the map and not from 535th Street. By placing this note, the building setback line could then be measured from the dedicated right-of-way to the east and would then meet the required 85 feet. The lot area in question was originally platted as lot 78 of the 4th addition to Eagle Point subdivision. This is a little screen clip of that plat. No restrictions were placed on the plat regarding driveway access for lot 78. At this time, the minimum lot width was not a requirement of the ordinance until 2017. So here's a little drawing that's kind of demonstrating where that lot width measurement is taken. It's 30 feet from the right of way, and it measures 82.35 feet across. The request is to specifically to the second half of section 13.2.2 sub H sub 2, stating lots not served by community sewer shall be a minimum of 1 acre, excluding road right-of-way, and a minimum of 85 feet wide at the setback line. Granting of this variance would allow placement of a driveway on 535th Street instead of the unimproved dedicated right-of-way known as 536th Street. The dedicated right-of-way, now known as 536th Street, is also commonly known as Harv's Driveway and is mostly sand. The town of Red Cedar has indicated they do not wish to improve the road and would prefer to access the lot from the cul-de-sac on the existing 535th Street. This is just an aerial photo from 2020 showing the location from a zoomed out distance. This is a Google Earth image, the date's unknown, just for a little bit better picture of where that 536th Street is located. As you can see from this photo, it does extend pretty far down. This is a Google Earth Street View image. It's the entrance to 536th Street from Eagle Point Road. Staff reached out to Chief Dennis Kloss of the Menominee Fire Department for opinion regarding emergency vehicle access, as this was a concern. Chief Kloss recommended approval of the variance to allow placement of the driveway on 535th Street, stating 535th Street is a recognized street on the dispatch mapping program, whereas 536th, the dedicated road, is not. 535th Street is paved and capable of supporting heavy fire apparatus during all seasons. 536th Street is a sand driveway and not capable of supporting large fire apparatus in the spring or during periods of rainfall / snowmelt. 536th Street is known as Harv's Driveway, as it's just that, a driveway to 2202 Eagle Point Road Northeast, which is a city residence along the river. Not approving the variance would create an emergency response issue for the fire department. This is staff analysis and findings. The need for the variance has been proven. The town of Red Cedar has not and does not intend to construct or improve 536th Street. Without the variance, Miss Miller's driveway would be required to access her property from the unmaintained sand driveway, which is not capable of supporting large fire equipment. The hardship is not self-imposed. A developer's agreement was not put in place at the time, the CSM was created in 2021. Ms. Miller purchased the lot in 2022, and although she may have been aware of the note regarding access, it was not fully understood that this would prevent a change in driveway location. The situation is unusual and not caused by the applicant. The original subdivider chose not to widen the lot to meet ordinance requirements and opted instead to place the note on the CSM so they could create a lot that was otherwise not compliant. A developer's agreement was not put in place dictating who would be financially obligated for the construction of the road. The variance would not grant uses that are prohibited and would allow driveway placement similar to other homes in the neighborhood. Staff has not found evidence, financial or otherwise, that this variance would be detrimental to other properties. The variance request is the minimum necessary to grant relief. The variance is not in conflict with the spirit of the ordinance and is not due to violations or variances by adjacent properties. Findings of fact and conclusions of law were included in the staff report on Exhibit 2. Action for the BOA. The BOA, after contemplating all relevant information, may do one of the following: recommend approval of the request with or without conditions, recommend denial of the request, or postpone the decision to absorb information gathered or request additional information. Based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law, the variance meets the applicable criteria set forth in section 13.4.0.4 sub H of the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to grant a variance. Therefore, staff recommend approval of the variance to section 13.2.2 sub H sub 2 to reduce the required minimum lot width measured at the building setback line from 85 feet to 82.35 feet. That concludes the staff report.
Okay, does the board have any questions for anybody so far here? Does the applicant wish to speak? Just push your button. Can you?
That one,
Yep. And then
Yes,
please
please.
state your name and address, please.
Marilyn Miller, and 7583 500th Street, Menominee.
Okay, thank you. Proceed.
I don't think it's necessary that I go through each of these pictures with you now that you've already heard that. So, but my main concern about absolutely all is safety first. From where I would be, first off, on the 536, GPS does not recognize it. It does not come up. So if it's saying there's no 536, in case of an emergency, and seconds are of the nature, whether it's a fire and it's doubling every few seconds, or whether somebody can't breathe, and I'm not as young as I used to be. But in case of a true emergency, I am very concerned that the emergency vehicles cannot pull up my address. Because 536, if I have to go to 536, is not recognized. Nor even when I tell people to come visit, you know, this is where I live, they still can't GPS even. But more than anything is that safety factor, because seconds are so important. And the rest, I guess the pictures all show you that road really, it's a trail. It shows, I mean, in the spring, the grass is 4 feet high on it. That's no road. But so I don't think you really need me to explain everything then. Okay.
Or do you have any questions? Bob, you're the chairman for the town and you're sworn in. I just have a question. 536, is that a town road? Is that an official town road on the town's map?
That would be the road that, called Brooks Driveway.
Yeah,
We kind of had the wolf over our eyes. That is now a town road. dedicated to the town of Red Cedar.
Okay. I just was wondering if it was, and 535th is also, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Does I guess every town has different, every town has different snowplow criteria, want to say that. Would the town of Red Cedar consider plowing 535th? 535, well, either one, yeah.
We have never plowed that road. As this problem was generated because rules changed.
Yep.
Maryland's lot. And when that cul-de-sac was originally laid out, it was too small. The town board at the time did not do their due diligence to determine that you can't turn a snowplow around in that distance.
Oh, it's too small of a road, huh?
Too small, it's too narrow of a road that's got the rock on it, the gravel. And the cul-de-sac is too small. The trucks are tandem axle and single axle. You know, with a 9-foot wing. It's just not practical.
Well, is,
The recycle and curbside garbage pickup, the garbage cans are out there. Of course, they put them in the road. And where do you go with the snow?
yeah, I'm just quite, just listening to the testimony and everything, I was just curious. On that, but if it's, and I understand the zoning ordinance has changed in 2017, so like is in our record, the width went from, it was okay until the new ordinance said 85 feet, so, because the Dunn County Board would have approved the plat previous to 2017. So. Go ahead.
I have a question for Bob. So as it's drawn up on the survey map, that cul-de-sac is too small to plow? Or as it stands today on Google Earth, or as I see on the map, on 535th?
With your own vehicle, you cannot determine where the cul-de-sac is, where the lawns are. It's all flat.
Uh-huh.
And if you drop a front wheel of that plow off of what the hard pack area is, you're gonna be stuck there.
So does the township plan to improve that road?
We don't have any plans at this time. What is there has been adequate for all these years,
Well, there's one house at the end of it, and there's one at the beginning of it.
right? Most of these, two of these homeowners own 2 lots apiece. And they've done that for privacy to have their space. I do not expect them to be sold off, separated out.
So if the variance is approved as proposed, or as the report says, will the township then start plowing because there's another house?
We have no plans of it at this time.
I'm not sure.
536. The road east of that,
Yeah, and that's not Mark. Yeah, I'm not concerned about that. Yeah.
No, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
I got a question for Bob too. If I could.
Go ahead.
Bob, are those 2 roads on the state map that we get in the fall that we have to fill out for the state to show that we get
CD.
money back from the state for maintaining the roads?
I don't know about 535th. I've never really looked into it. But the other one, the one 536, is not on the report.
Okay. So you don't know if you get reimbursed for taking care of those roads or not. I guess I still feel, I'm going through it right now in our township too, on a road that we should have probably closed, but there was, if we would have. There's a parcel back there that wouldn't have been accessed then, and now people are going to build on that road or have bought lots off it, and we're gonna have to consider doing a bunch of maintenance, and I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that's more of a town problem than a problem for this. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got this variance, and it goes out to a town road, so.
That's what I was gonna say. I just was interested in more information.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and as far as the maintenance and the snow plowing situation on that road, that is not part of our discussion as far as a decision-making, issue, for the variance. That's something that the people have to take up with their own township. So, going forward, does anybody have any questions on the variance, on anything that's been presented? If there's no other questions, do you wish to say anything else? The applicant? I will, close this section of the hearing and we will deliberate on this and take action on this, variance. Is there any discussion? I guess we've all seen the staff report and probably have all the information that we need or are going to get. Is there a motion to approve or deny?
I'd move to approve as is written by the staff report.
Motion been made to approve. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the variance for Marilyn Miller, the Marilyn Miller property from 85 feet to 80. I don't have it in front of me, but 82.35 feet. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Variance is approved. Then we will go to have the hearing for the special exception requests for the campgrounds or camp. I guess there are campgrounds private. And I am going to, let's see, I have one, let's see. I'll start out with the public comment for this section. We have one written from Judy Nutzman. Our names are John and Judy Nutzman. We live at E6232 848th Avenue, Colfax, Wisconsin 54730. We live on Tainer Lake, right across from the bay from these properties. We see them every day, spring, summer, fall, and winter. We had never seen these properties not taken care of. In all the years that we have been there, they have always maintained their properties. They take better care of their property than some year-round homes by us. We can't understand why after 5 or more years, this has become an issue. We hope that their request be granted, and if any one of you on the board would like to see what we see, you're welcome to stop by. Signed, John and Judy Nutzman. I think what they're referring to is that there was a complaint filed, and that's why this came before the Board of Adjustment. Is there any public comment on this section of the hearing? Any other public comment? No? If there is none, we will proceed with the staff, or actually, you probably should read the rest of the notice, public hearing notice. Can you bring that up?
Yep, one moment.
Can you get it?
Pardon me, I'm just having a technical difficulty with my laptop. I can't get this to close. The Dunn County Board of Adjustment has scheduled a public hearing for Monday, October 17th at 5:30 PM in room 54 at the Dunn County Community Services Building, 3001 US Highway 12 East in Menominee, Wisconsin. Applicant 2, Terry and Rhonda Kester, Mark Kester, Kelly Gabriel, Monica Weber. Parcel ID number 17038-229121600400013. Lot 19, Town of Tainter, Assessor's Plat, number 1, Town of Tainter, Dunn County, Wisconsin. Applicant 2, Joe and Monica Weber, John and Tricia Schmidt, parcel ID 17038-229121600400014. Lot 20, Town of Tainter, Assessor's Plat, number 1, Town of Tainter, Dunn County, Wisconsin. Applicant 3 is Red Cedar Landscape LLC, parcel ID 17038-229121600400012. Lot 18, Town of Tainter, Assessor's Plat, number 1, Town of Tainter, Dunn County, Wisconsin. The applicants are requesting special exception permits for a private campground for personal use pursuant to section 13.2.8.7 sub A sub 13 of the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance.
You want to go proceed with the staff report then? We have to, just for the board's information, and for the public, we need to have a motion separately for each one of these. She's put them together on the public hearing as applicant 1, 2, and 3, but we do need separate motions on each. And I think all the, I guess from the information that we have and what she'll present will show that they're adjacent lots. And so I think if it's okay with the board, we will look at them as a group, but as I said, we need a separate motion on each one.
I apologize for the computer issues. Usually we have 2 computers that can run different things and I'm having to do them all from one.
We were all set until I screwed you up.
The 3 applicants are each requesting a special exception permit for a private campground for personal non-commercial use. Each set of property owners has submitted an application for a special exception permit. Each request is a separate action and subject to approval. The applicants are listed again here, as I stated in the notice. The applicants are neighbors who currently own the described properties and would like to continue to use their properties for recreational purposes such as boating, ATV riding, and camping. Shown here is a photo of Lot 18 submitted by the applicants. This is a Google Earth photo, date unknown, showing the approximate location of the properties in red. This is on Tainter Lake. A complaint was received by zoning staff earlier this year regarding the use of campers and RVs on the properties. After discussions with zoning staff, it was clear that the property owners were unaware that under their zoning as residential 1, they would not be able to place their RVs on the property without constructing a residential structure. The applicants discussed their current and future plans with for the property with zoning staff. And based on this discussion, staff recommended the applicant rezone the properties to a more appropriate designation as shoreline recreational. The shoreline recreational district lists private campgrounds as a special exception use, which is why we're here today. The rezone requests were approved by the Dunn County Board on September 21st, 2022, and these properties are now zoned as shoreline recreational. A campground is defined by ATCP as a parcel or tract of land owned by a person, state, or local government that is designed, maintained, intended, or used for the purpose of providing campsites offered with or without charge for temporary overnight sleeping accommodations. Other agency opinions were sought. The applicants are requesting less than 3 campsites for each property, and they will not be advertised to the public. Therefore, additional licensing is not required through Dunn County's Health Department or DATCAP. Since the original posting of this staff report, comments from Mike Wenholz, Shoreline Program Coordinator with the Wisconsin DNR. His statement was, the department's only comment is to ensure any proposed structures, including campers, associated with the special exception permit would completely meet the required 75-foot ordinary high water mark setback, and that all shoreline protection ordinance requirements are met. The properties are currently used for recreational purposes and no permanent improvements are proposed. The properties are adjacent to an existing campground, Elk Point Resort, and the proposed use would be compatible with the neighborhood. The intent of the applicants is to continue using the land as they have been for recreational activities, which includes using camping units, specifically mobile recreational vehicles. Per ordinance, uses such as cabins, restaurants, nightclubs, etc., and boats are permitted principal uses. The lot sizes and proximity to both the road and the lake are very limiting for the construction of permanent structures, which is why the property owners have chosen to use mobile RVs rather than construct cabins or summer homes. If the special exceptions are approved, they may continue to use their RVs on the property without building permanent residential structures. All 3 properties are within the Shoreland Overlay District and Flood Fringe District. FEMA's flood panels indicate this area is within Zone AE and lies outside the regulatory floodway. Because these properties are within the flood fringe, mobile RVs cannot be on site more than 180 consecutive days and must be fully licensed and ready for highway use or meet elevation and anchoring requirements. The majority of the property is outside the base flood of elevation, which is 880.3 feet. RVs and camping units are considered structures by the Wisconsin DNR. Therefore, they must meet shoreline setbacks. It was also noted in my conversation with the DNR that some of the campers may be closer than 75 feet based on aerial photography. So they will have to be moved back to the 75-foot location. And after taking a look at those aerial photos myself, I believe there is room for them to do so. Findings of fact, the Town of Tainter Board and Planning Commission recommended approval of the requests. Based on staff findings, the request is consistent with the county's comp plan. The proposal does not violate the spirit or intent of the Dunn County Comprehensive Ordinance. The proposal is consistent with and can comply with standards within the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. The proposal is not contrary to public health, safety, or welfare, and is not substantially adverse to property values. The proposal will not be detrimental to ground or surface water quality, and the sanitation systems proposed will not hinder the prevention of disease, contamination, or unsanitary conditions. The use will not cause nuisance. The proposed use is compatible with the recreational and residential nature of the area. Properties are within shoreline, wetland, and floodplain districts, and all activities approved by this special exception use can comply with the standards set forth in the Dunn County Shoreland, Wetland Overlay, and Floodplain Districts. It's the recommendation of zoning staff that special exception permits be approved for private campgrounds for Tara and Rhonda Kester, Mark Kester, Red Cedar Landscape, and Joe and Monica Weber, John and Tricia Schmidt, to use their respective properties to operate a private campground for personal and non-commercial recreational use, subject to conditions. And I have drafted some conditions for the board to take a look at. And I'll just bring those up here.
I would assume, Ann, that the conditions would apply for each one.
I'm going to try to zoom this in so you can see a little better. So on the screen, I have the findings of fact, conclusions of law, decision, and order of the Dunn County Board of Adjustment. This is a draft. The Board of Adjustment may edit these conditions as they see fit, and the applicant is also welcome to propose conditions so they may meet the requirements. I'd like to ask the chair if you'd like me to continue with this, or you'd like to hear from the applicant at this time.
Well, there's three applicants, so the first one is the Weber Schmidt, right? Are they here? Do they wish to speak? I guess you could either sit in a chair or you can speak from the podium, whichever you desire. You'll have to turn the thing on.
I believe it. Is it on?
Yep, it is
Okay.
on. Okay. Please state your name and address, please.
Joe Weber, and my address is 1612 14th Avenue East, Menominee, Wisconsin.
Okay, proceed.
So basically with the findings that you saw, I can go into a big, long list of reasons why we should do it and what we started with. I'll make a summary, I guess, if you would, and then answer any questions if you would like. So when we first purchased the property, we did a little research first, and I had went down to the zoning office and talked to Bob Colson. And he had Ben meet me out there, the zoning, I think it was Ben, zoning officer at the time. And we kind of went through what we were looking to do. And one of the big questions I had was storage buildings. And we wanted to build a 12x16 storage building to put kayaks and stuff in. And so Bob, I met him at his office, and we kind of went through the whole works in regards to, we couldn't do that unless it was connected to a residence. It had to be under 100 square feet. If it couldn't be permanent. So we went through, he gave me the information to contact Wisconsin, the DNR, the Water Commission. I can't remember who I talked to there, but we went through being in a floodplain, how to anchor the buildings with ground anchors and stuff, so they were not permanent, but they're anchored in case of a flood. In regards to the camper, when we told them what we were actually hoping to do, put a pontoon and a dock in and put a camper on there for, you know, seasonal use and the weather's nice. When we were verbally back and forth, he said, we won't bother you. I think he called it an accessory use, which was private recreation, not limited to, and he went through the list of things that it wasn't limited to. And I didn't get that in an email, but we kind of made that purchase based on speaking with him. We went ahead and put the campers on, put the storage sheds on. And I think that's true for all three of our parcels, and have been utilizing that property since that time, 2017, in that form. And when we first talked to the zoning office here, I believe it was back in April, we went down and met with Michelle, and the office was great on helping us figure out how we could still utilize our piece of property, because yeah, I would say in all fairness, all three of the parcels, we would all love to have just a permanent cabin there, so you don't have to worry about taking care of a camper or sewer or hauling in water and things like that. But most of those lots are unbuildable because of size or because of location to the intersection or proximity to the lake. Knowing that and working with Ann in her office, the idea was to rezone and then apply for the special exception. And we did get the zoning to go through. Town of Tainer, both planning commission and board had approved our request, and we're here now asking you guys for the same. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, I guess.
Just stay there a second. Bob or Dave, you had a question on the
Well, that'll be
to Ann?
with, yeah, for Ann for the recommendations.
Okay. Any questions?
The staff recommendation talks about moving it every 140 days for 24 hours.
180 days, yeah.
What's that?
180 days.
Sorry,
Mhm.
180 days, thank you.
Yep.
Is that a hardship?
So I don't believe so, because all of our campers are ready to go if you wanted to hook on and go. Of course, we'd prefer not to. So I think if a special exception is granted, I think we will basically decide if we meet that FEMA requirement. I believe there's 2 of the campers that have to be raised a foot. There's a couple others that have to be raised about 1.5 feet. And there's an area around the camp that needs to be raised as well. So then it will be determined whether it's cost prohibitive to do that, or if we want to hook on and take them out of there for a day at a time. So,
Thank you.
but we are willing to comply with whatever that rule is. We just want to make sure we do it right.
Any other questions? Thank you. If we have more, we'll ask you.
So
And why don't you go through the conditions that you were starting to go to, and which I guess we've all read them previously in our pre-information.
Unfortunately, I cannot get this to zoom any farther unless somebody has some suggestions here. So I did want to start with number 5. Mobile recreational units must be fully licensed and ready for highway use or meet elevation and anchoring requirements. This was added as a condition because it's required by FEMA, because this is in the flood fringe. There's really no way we can get around this one, unfortunately. But really all that means is if they can drive the RVs off the property in an emergency or during a flood, that would generally satisfy that requirement. If they are looking to leave them there more permanently, they would have to follow anchoring requirements and meet elevation. Number one, the owners of the property will abide by all representations and commitments made in their application for the Board of Adjustment and in accordance with all conditions in the permit as approved by the board. Number two, no more than blank mobile recreational units shall be placed on a single lot or parcel. This is also here due to DAT cap and public health regulations. Because they're proposing to have less than 3 mobile recreational units or camping units, they aren't required to get further permitting from the health department. But I thought I'd leave this open to discussion for the number. Number 3, placement of mobile recreational vehicles and or camping units must conform to applicable setbacks. This one was added due to the DNR's comments. Number 4, mobile recreational vehicles cannot be on site more than 180 days, at which time the camping unit must be removed from the floodplain for a minimum of 24 hours. Again, this is a FEMA requirement, DNR floodplain ordinance. Not a lot of wiggle room there.
And I have a question. If they're there for the 180 days, does FEMA still require them to be anchored during that 180 days? You know what I mean?
So anytime that they're on the property, they either have to be fully licensed and ready to drive, or they have to meet the anchoring requirements. At any time.
It's or is it both?
It is or.
Okay.
So that, I guess that's kind of where my question was. So they have to be moved every 180 days, no matter what, whether they're anchored or not, correct?
No,
No, I don't believe so.
if they're
If-
above the flood fringe, then they don't have to be moved, but
Correct.
then they would have to be anchored.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I was mixed up there, because I thought maybe that, or, you know, either they're fully licensed and ready for highway use, or maybe that or should have went up by the 180 days, you know?
I think I can see what you're suggesting. May I make a change
Sure.
possibly, or propose a change? We could remove number 4. And I believe that the other parts would still satisfy the requirements. There is another condition that kind of it holds them to floodplain regulations. So really, they have to follow the floodplain regulations regardless. My intent with including these here was to make it clear to the applicant what their expectations were, but I think that's pretty understandable if we remove number 4.
And number 4 that you're talking about is the mobile recreation units must be fully licensed and ready for highway.
Number 4 is mobile recreational vehicles cannot be on site more than 180 consecutive days.
Is it my understanding, Ann, that if the 75-foot setback is in play, that they are not in the floodplain?
No,
Or is this whole area?
That's incorrect.
Is this whole area in the shoreline, or you know what I mean?
so shoreland is different than floodplain. So shoreland is a separate ordinance.
Yep.
And that is where the 75-foot setback comes in. Any structure built within 75, the 300 feet of a lake would be subject to this. It's really difficult to build within 75 feet of a lake unless you have a variance, or say you did this and were grandfathered in previous to the ordinance.
Go ahead.
Somebody has a statement.
If you want to speak, you can still, come up and we'll throw you in. I assume you're one of the applicants? Please state your name and address, please.
Bruce Villeneuve, address is E 4398 County Road, BB, Menominee, Wisconsin.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
Well, like Joe was saying, this is the scoop with all our properties that we just like coming out here to, to have a place to go on the weekends and whatnot. But my only issue is with the 75 feet because, and you mentioned the 75 feet, it's hard to build, but we're not building anything. We're literally sitting on top of the ground. And my lot is, and the skinniest part is only 94 feet from which is why we're here, why we can't build anything. So here's the water, here's the road, that's 94 feet. Well, 75 feet, I can't put the camper this way. I can hardly have space for this. So, and I'm not right on the water's edge, don't get me wrong, but I'm sure I'm within, without getting a measurement out right now, I'm sure I'm within 75 feet of that, but I'm not in the ground. I'm literally just sitting there. So I understand what he's probably saying, the DNR person, but we don't have the space for that. And if we did, we would be able to build something on it. Because then we would have these other options available before, like I said, from 94 feet, water's edge to the road, 30 feet from the water or from the road, 75 feet from the water. I couldn't put a stick in the ground without being in violation of something. So that's why we did the camper. But the camper, like I said, it's hard to build. It's impossible to build within 75 feet, but we're not building anything. And literally, that's why, I mean, in fact, if we did it with 75 feet from water, the camper itself would be 20 feet from the road with being paper thin. By the time you have the width of the camper, it'd actually be closer to even closer to the road, which would be in violation of that. So I understand the whole building something within 75 feet, but you kind of gotta be somewhere with it. And otherwise it's a picnic table. That's all we can do with the property. And so that's, I guess, everything else all of us, I feel we've done nothing but improve these properties, but we have to have something.
You'd like to be able to use them.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, if you took a look at the places, every one of them are well maintained. It was just junk woods when we bought the places, and now they're something that is kind of the envy of the neighborhood. People tell us that all the time. But if we had to move everything, it'd be a pile of trailers or campers right next to the road. And like I said, the building is a whole different ballgame. If we could build, we would have built something. But 75, but if he's given some recommendations from Madison to what he would like to see, I understand that, but that really isn't an option. I know some of the other properties they're farther back than mine is, but it's 94 on my east end of my property, which is where the camper sits. And that was one of the pictures. And like I said, I'm not 10 feet from the water's edge by no means. And I'm probably just guessing at least 50, 60 feet, but I know I can't be 90 feet because I'd be pushing into the road. So I guess that's my statement.
I'm not sure that we can address that. 75 feet. Can we?
So this might be a situation where more information might be useful for the decision. I did not anticipate a camper being necessarily designated as a structure. I would think maybe like a camping pad, but again, this is something we'd have to research and come back with. I don't want to give a fast answer here, and I certainly can't speak for the DNR's regulations. Our shoreland ordinance is based on DNR's ordinance, their model shoreland ordinance. It's very similar. We cannot be less restrictive than the DNR, unfortunately.
But like I said, does the DNR say that for a camper?
That is what he said to me today. That's the email that I have.
But like I said, we'd like to be able to use the property, and
Yep.
we're just gonna have there would be, I know on my place, instead of here's the water, and here's the road, my camper's like this. It would have to be like this, And literally, like I said, I'm probably 15, 20 feet from by the width of the camper, I'm that close to the road. And well, it's very limiting on what we can do with the property then, if that's the case.
Yeah, on yours, I think Ann might have to reach out to the DNR to get clarification, probably.
So what I would suggest is perhaps on this one where the applicant feels like they can't meet some of the restrictions, we cannot grant a special exception that is contrary to the ordinance. So if by granting this, we're creating another violation, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I guess my recommendation would be to postpone the decision on this one, meet again, and I could provide more information at that time, maybe reach out to the DNR for further opinion.
The DNR might have variance to, or, they might be able to.
Right, it would be a variance requirement if it's fully determined that an RV is a structure. To get closer than 75 feet, we would need a variance to that ordinance.
Yeah, but I mean, we'd have to get direction from the DNR, right?
Correct, I would
If
think
the
more
DNR says it
information would
was
be.
okay, then we could go and say it's okay too.
Another option would be, we could potentially approve this one, leaving the conditions in place and still saying they have to meet setbacks, all setbacks. And then address it as a variance in the future, but if the applicant's concerned that they won't be able to meet a condition, I feel like we should find out more.
I think that this time of the year, it's probably just as well if we wait on yours and get clarification. Try to work with the DNR on that one. You guys will have to work with them, in conjunction with Ann, I'm guessing. Because you're probably not gonna be out there in the winter time much anyway. So there's time to figure that out, But like Ann said, like I read at the beginning, we can't approve something that can't be met.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, so,
We want these things to be reasonable and
but yeah, and that's one reason that the board is here, is to be reasonable, to the public, to accommodate what is reasonable. And I think in your situation, you have a situation that the DNR might be willing to move on. I don't really know. Who knows, but I think you'll have to get clarification on that before we can act on it, for sure. So it's a good thing that it came up. So a guy knows, How wide is your lot?
It's 100, I believe it's 100 at the, it's not quite a perfect rectangle, but I believe it's 100 on the water. I'm going by memory here, but 94 on the east side and 120 on the west side. And so it's kind of a trapezoid, and whatever it is at the road, I'm not quite sure. But then, there's trees and whatnot, so it's not like it's a blank canvas of 100 by, because there's trees here and trees there. And in fact, we left every good tree possible. And so, but like I said, it'd just be totally different than what it is now, is the configuration of what we would have to do to meet that, just because of mainly the 94, because the 120 gives us a little bit, more room, but 94 on the east side.
So on that lot, you probably could meet that requirement.
Like I said, just by putting it east and west.
I mean, you're talking on the 94, but if it's on the 120-foot side.
Well, the camper is 38 feet long, so 75 and 38, that's touching the road.
That's close.
Yeah.
So
it would.
Well, we should probably get more clarification on yours and it can come back. I think is that I guess let's.
may I comment
Yeah,
before
go
you
ahead.
go any further? So just to clarify, this is for a special exception use. This permit is it's only granting a use. It's a special exception use. What we're talking about here as far as the setbacks, that would require a variance if you cannot conform to that. This is essentially just saying you can have a campground. The conditions are here so that you can meet the requirements of the ordinance with your special exception. Anything else would have to be done through a variance.
So in other words, you think we could approve the special exception, but it would still have to meet the criteria. And he's saying that right now he doesn't think he could meet it.
Correct. But this is not saying he's limited to mobile recreational vehicles. He could camp, he could boat, he could do all the other things. They could have tents, things like that. A smaller RV would be an option. This is just basically saying you can have a campground, which isn't normally allowed if you meet these conditions. If he cannot meet the 75-foot, that would be a separate item. And that would be a variance application, and that could be done at a later date.
So you're recommending still that to approve all three?
So my recommendation would be that these could be approved as they are, as the conditions are listed. It's up to them, to meet the requirements as in setbacks, so we could approve these now. And if they want to stay with the camper, they can come back and request a variance.
Okay.
Or we could just postpone this particular one.
What would you prefer us do?
Whatever makes us smoother, and this has been a long process as it is, but we would like to do what we are doing right now because we feel it's a really nice piece of property. And
You realize if we approve the special exception, if the DNR doesn't budge on the 75-foot setback,
then I'm moving the camper.
yeah, then you can't do what you've been doing. At least in that particular
You're
spot
right,
on
in
your
that
lot.
spot. You're right.
But
Oh, go ahead, speak.
If we approve the special exception and he comes back and asks for a variance. And during that hearing, do we still go back to what the DNR says? Or are we able to approve a variance?
So this touches on something that I actually need to present to the BOA in the future. So right now, we can only get comments from the DNR regarding shoreline regulations. I do believe that they could recommend denial of a 75-foot setback regulation, but they couldn't veto our decision essentially, or your decision.
Okay,
We would hear their comments, but that would be it.
all right. That's what I was
Yeah,
looking
just-
for that answer.
Just trying to sort it out, see,
Yeah. Okay,
Sherry?
thank you.
So which item in the packet, in the write-up here is specifying the 75-foot setback? I don't
number
necessarily
5,
see
isn't
that.
it, or where is it?
Hers is different than the one they sent out before, so I don't quite
She-
understand.
she-
that.
She added some because she just got the information from the DNR today. So we got our preliminary information probably 4 or 5 days ago.
Approval.
So
So which item is it? It says
it's
they need to
not
be
an
sent.
item. It's not included in the packet because this information came today. So I received this comment as an email from Mike Wenholz of the Shoreland Program, Wisconsin DNR. So this was added. So if you look at the packet, other agency opinion, so the staff report, which is
Yeah.
Exhibit 2.
Yep.
Other agency opinion, it notes that we reached out to the DNR and had not yet received comments.
But now we have.
Again,
Camp-
this isn't saying that they're recommending denial or approval of the special exception. This is simply a comment saying they're concerned about the campers because they consider them structures that they may not be meeting the 75-foot setback from the ordinary high water mark.
But most every state campground you pull your highway use camper into has camping spots that are much closer than 75 feet to the water.
I honestly cannot comment on DNR's interpretation of the shoreline ordinance. I'm sorry, I can't. As zoning administrator, I can only enforce ours, and I feel like I do not have enough information to decide that this doesn't have to apply.
Go ahead, Dave.
I've got a question. Or kind of a comment to you, and but it seems to me that we should go ahead and if we're going to approve it, if we do in fact end up approving it for you, at least that would give you the option of using the land for camping. You know, if the DNR is strict on that 75 feet, you may have to move your camper sideways down towards the wider end of your property, but the bottom line is you'll be able to use it for
Correct.
camping.
Yes.
So it seems to me that we should continue on and decide whether we should approve the exemption or not. But that would, at least you'd know that much, and then
Sure.
then
No, I
we could
totally
find
agree.
out with the DNR whether you'd have to rearrange your property or not.
I totally agree.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going back to Weber and Schmidt. Or
Okay.
go through the rest of, go
Okay.
through the rest of your
So,
conditions here.
just to clarify, like, this is a permit granting a special exception use to the Dunn County zoning ordinance. Basically, we're just putting in here a condition that says it also needs to comply to the regulations of other authorities. That would be number 8. All uses approved pursuant to the special exception permit and all property utilized in connection with this use must comply with governing regulatory provisions without limitation and by way of example, that includes public health, the Department of Natural Resources, fire safety regulations, and building code provisions. So to summarize, essentially, we don't have to put anything in there about the 75-foot setback. They do need to follow other regulatory provisions regardless.
Yeah, keep going through, you have there then.
Okay, so I did change the language of number 4 based on the comments, and I would like to maybe share those with you and see if that sounds better. Number 4, mobile recreational vehicles not conforming to elevation and anchoring requirements cannot be on site more than 180 consecutive days, at which time the camping unit must be removed from the floodplain for a minimum of 24 hours. So that would essentially take the place of the requirement saying they have to be fully licensed and ready for use or meet anchoring requirements, and it would kind of change the language of the original 180-day requirement.
Any questions on that?
I guess the only question I would have is if they are not licensed, then they should be on for the township's property tax as personal property, correct? And that's really gonna put an assessor in a tough position to follow that, whether they're licensed or not. You know, he's gonna assume that they're licensed. And that's what, I don't know, that's my thinking on that. I think it's cheaper to license them than it is to pay personal property tax on them, so I would think that you would want them to be licensed.
Can-
So I think we could leave that, I don't know, I would like to see that left in there, that, they have to be licensed and can be, travel down the highway. I also like where you changed it so that they don't have to be moved every 180 days if they're, put on up in the air and they're anchored. So I don't know, I like both of them things instead of one or the other. Can you
What-
follow what I'm saying?
Can I ask, one of the applicant, I think I can't remember the first name, Weber? Are these campers permanent? Do they stay there year round? Okay. So I'm just wondering if it probably isn't a hardship to move it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to keep that they don't have to move it, but maybe I know Bob Cook, Mr. Cook is chairman. You understand what I'm talking about there with the taxes? But what would your feeling be on that? I mean, I'm thinking of my own township, you understand where I'm saying that, your assessor wouldn't know if they're licensed or not.
Property, or is it a motorhome?
Right,
One or the other.
yeah, I think we should leave that they have to be fully licensed in there.
I could let anyone else speak too, but we could, as an option, just have one of the conditions, mobile recreational units must be licensed. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
fully-
aiming for?
Yeah, fully licensed and highway, yeah, they'd be ready for the highway anyway. I'm
I
sure they
think
don't
if-
take the wheels off.
Maybe you want to ask the applicant that.
Over,
Have any of you taken the axles or the wheels off like they do with trailer houses? I didn't think so. They'd be highway use.
if you had to move them, you could. It'd be in a 100-year flood or something like that. Just leave it the way you have it, don't you think,
Yeah.
Dave?
I think,
Just fully licensed and ready for highway.
yeah,
Yeah,
did you leave
that's all
that
we
in
need.
there?
Leave it in there.
Okay,
I
so
think that helps them. And it doesn't.
But give them
doesn't
the
bother
option
us.
of moving it 180 days or it's elevated and anchored.
okay, so I have number 5, mobile recreational units must be both fully licensed and ready for highway use or meet elevation and anchoring requirements. Is that fine on its own?
I would.
Because we have
stop
another,
right after highway use.
okay,
And I would add that elevation and anchoring requirements up on the one about moving it every 180 days like you did.
okay. So just to reread it, so everybody's on the same page. Number 4, mobile recreational vehicles not conforming to elevation and anchoring requirements cannot be on site more than 180 consecutive days, at which time the camping unit must be removed from the floodplain for a minimum of 24 hours. Are we leaving that?
Well, I think
Yeah.
you can leave it because you have not conforming to the
Mhm.
anchoring, so.
Yeah.
And then number 5 is mobile recreational units must be both fully licensed and ready for highway use.
Yep. I think you probably need both of those in there.
But they're two separate issues. Really.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
okay,
Let's
let's
keep going.
keep going down then. Or up,
Concern.
whichever way you're going,
Okay. Could we go back to number 2?
go back wherever you want.
no more than blank mobile recreational units shall be placed on a single lot or parcel.
She had two in
Is,
there.
is there,
I think two is enough.
Yeah.
That's my.
if they have more than three or more, they have to comply with the health?
Right, so they're allowed up to 3 without getting additional permits from public health.
So put no more than 2 then. Right? Is
We
that
can
what?
have 3, like a tent is considered a. No,
I don't think so, mobile.
Recreation.
so it would be like considered like campsites essentially.
okay.
But it's
They
the
said-
vehicles, it's the units that we have here. That's the one that we're addressing.
But the question I asked was if you have 3 or more. Or if you have 3, then you have to have a health permit.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
Let's do less.
I think.
So then no more than 2
Right.
would make sense. I don't know,
You're
unless, I don't think you want to get a health permit, do you?
Mm,
I think it's a sanitary permit or something, I'm guessing.
It's campground licensing.
We're talking about mobile campers. You could still put a tent on it. So,
I mean, 3. It's 3 or more than 3. So it's 3 are fine. 4 is not.
okay,
Okay.
then put 3, no more than 3.
Thank you.
See, I asked you if 3
Yeah, I
was.
thought it was.
All right, so that's taken care of.
Yep, that one's done.
Okay, moving on. Number 5 is now all domestic wastes and wastewater will be properly disposed of at an on-site sanitary dumping station on a regular basis.
On-site or off-site?
Off-site, did I say on?
Yeah, you said.
Yeah.
Off-site.
I apologize, I'm getting tired. It is an off-site sanitary.
Yep, keep going.
6, any proposed changes in the approved campground shall be presented to the zoning administrator for approval. None of the changes can take place until written approval is received from the zoning administrator. Number 7, all uses approved pursuant to the special exception permit and all property utilized in connection with this use must comply with governing regulatory provisions without limitation and by way of example that includes public health, the Department of Natural Resources, fire safety regulations, and building code provisions. Number 8, this permit is subject to the terms and conditions, and where such terms or conditions have been violated or not complied with as an alternative or in addition to any other enforcement action, the zoning administrator shall petition the Board of Adjustment to hold a public hearing to determine whether the terms and conditions of the special exception permit have been violated or otherwise not complied with. If the Board of Adjustment determines that a condition or term has been violated or not complied with, then the Board of Adjustment may revoke or modify all or part of the special exception permit. That is all of them.
Any questions by the board on any of those? No?
No.
Any questions from any of the applicants on any of those? If there's no more discussion, I will ask for or we'll close the hearing and then we will vote. Is there any more discussion?
We're voting on each one separately. correct?
Yes,
Oh,
But they each have the same
same conditions.
conditions. Thank you.
I think they all would have to meet the same conditions.
okay.
They're all similar, and so if there's no more discussion, or questions, I will close that part of the hearing and we will go to deliberation and, which we kind of do during the discussion, but if the board has anything that they want to speak to, personally, they can do it. If there is no more discussion, then I'd entertain a motion to approve And I'm just gonna go by what the Weber Schmidt special exception permit. Is there a motion to approve or deny the Weber Schmidt special exception?
I make a motion that we approve the Weber Schmidt application for the special exception,
With
including the following conditions.
the seven conditions that we have listed. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the the Weber Schmidt special exception permit for the private camp site with the conditions as set. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The second one, do I have them in order or am I out of order? Red Cedar Landscape.
I'll make a motion that we accept approve the special exception for Red Cedar Landscape LLC with the conditions listed.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the Red Cedar Landscape LLC special exception permit with the seven conditions that we've outlined. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The third applicant yes, is it Kester?
Kester.
Kester, Gabriel, and Weber. Is that the third one? Is there a motion to approve or deny that special exception?
I'll make that motion.
Motion been made to approve the special exception for the Kester Gabriel Weber application with the seven conditions. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second, there has been a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will. Is there a motion to adjourn the hearing then?
So moved.
Jerry? A second, so the hearing is closed.